Chicago emergency, William. What's going on?
I just need the police to come by. I work with an artist. I don't really want to say his name, but he stayed here. He went to Subway. He was walking by, and some guys, I don't know, they jumped him or something like that. And I just want to report it and make sure he's all right.
Got a pretty serious and breaking story topping today's buzz.
Yeah, an update on the story. One of the stars of the TV show Empire that is shot here in Chicago was apparently the victim of a hate crime very early this morning.
Smollett says he left a Streeterville subway, was walking home at around 2 a.m. when he was attacked. He says two people in masks yelled racial and homophobic slurs at him, beat him, poured some kind of chemical on him, then put a rope around his neck. He watched at Northwestern Hospital for treatment and filed a police report.
They say Chicago is the best news town in America, where the people are real, the stories are real, and every possible confluence of events and news takes place. But this story, this was not the Chicago that we all know.
Empire star Jussie Smollett is in good condition at Northwestern Hospital after being the victim of a racially charged assault.
He says he was jumped by two men.
They put a noose around his neck.
A dozen detectives are working around the clock investigating an alleged attack.
So many times we as struggling actors, you start to feel like a loser inside of your soul.
Jussie Smollett is officially a suspect.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career.
And it's been full of twists and turns.
I am not suicidal!
I had no idea who Jussie Smollett was until this incident. And who knows, maybe in hindsight, that was part of the plan, was to get his name out there.
You know, I always worked regular jobs and whatever regular is, but I always worked a job, always held down a job and supported myself. But it's hard, it's hard. It's difficult to be an auditioning actor.
We've seen a lot of actors and athletes who show up in public consciousness when they're growing up. They're starting from a place where they've already been sort of running alongside people where there's an awareness that's building and an understanding or perception of who they are.
Jussie, hey, how's it going?
How are you?
You're on Empire now. How's it working?
It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So what's happening? Anything good coming up?
Craziness. Apparently Jamal has a baby and a baby mama, so I guess we got to go to Maury, huh?
Uh-oh.
Jamal's character as a gay black male who is considered to be at the forefront of artistry and as a human being, it shouldn't be something that's strange. It is how it's been for years and for centuries, and I'm just so happy to be part of something like that.
We are all in this together, and diversity should not be a fad or a hashtag. It should be something that we represent, because as artists, we're supposed to tell the truth and show the world in a very truthful way.
How does it feel being on the biggest show of 2015, Empire?
I mean, y'all, it's literally only April, so. But it feels great. It's a blessing. It's beautiful. I mean, you know, the show is doing wonderful, so I'm happy. I smile a lot.
So modest. It's huge. It's massive.
Jussie was on a very successful show with a loyal following that received a lot of visibility, and he was someone that as part of playing that role, people had a real interest.
Are you ever worried that you might be killed off?
No one is safe on it.
No one?
Except Cookie.
Oh, Cookie's the only one that's safe.
Not going anywhere.
Rest assured, fans.
I'll be back season 3 and hopefully season 4 if I don't piss everybody off. So yeah, I'll be back for sure.
Chicago emergency, William. Okay.
Yeah,
what's going on?
I just need the police to come by. I work with an artist. I don't really want to say his name, but he stayed here. He went to Subway. He was walking by, and some guys, I don't know, they jumped him or something like that. And I just want to report it and make sure he's all right.
So I probably got that phone call at home about 4 that morning. And my news director, Anthony Guglielmi, called me and said, hey, you're not gonna like this. And then he told me what happened. So I said, well, tell the team, get everything they have and be ready to brief me when I get in a few hours.
Does your friend need an ambulance?
I just think he's startled. What's really weird, ma'am, just because I'm scared and I don't know what it is, they put a noose around his neck.
Chicago police do not have a description of the men who allegedly attacked the 36-year-old who plays Jamal Lyon on the TV show Empire. Smollett says he left this 24-hour subway and while he was walking home was attacked by two men in masks.
He says two men walked up to him, yelled MAGA, a reference to Trump's slogan, Make America Great Again.
He told police they beat him, threw some kind of chemical on him, and then put a noose around his neck.
I was angry. Listen, Chicago had issues with violent crime. That was no secret. And so when I hear that something happens to this young man, who was very popular because of the TV show, yeah, I was pissed.
He's basically insensitive, like his pride is in a way, right?
Okay. Yeah, that's maybe not audibly and visually recorded right now.
I work with him, so he is like a star. He works on the show Empire, so I think he doesn't want that to be a big deal. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Any weapons or anything inside the apartment?
I think I'm coming. I just don't want my neighbors to turn it off.
Yeah, you're giving us permission to shut it off.
I mean, it spread like wildfire, and a B-list, little-known actor on a Fox show suddenly had his face everywhere.
The good part of Hollywood is that when there are examples of someone being a victim, people really rally around it.
I had met Jussie. I didn't know him well, but I've met him, and he's really a great guy, and it just, that was terrible.
I reached out and I was like, stop the madness and all of that. Me being a fellow Mighty Duck and him being an ex-Mighty Duck, like I should extend my hand in that kind of hope you stop the madness type of thing as well.
Oh my God, it's awful. I'm embarrassed to be from Chicago. Shame on Chicago. I love where I come from. I can't believe it happened there.
I think that's horrible. It doesn't get worse, as far as I'm concerned.
Even if it was like a bit player of even a smaller role on a smaller show that received even less attention, the gravity of what happened, it was really the nature of the alleged attack that was actually even more of an issue than it was who it happened to, and was going to be something that media and just individuals online and elsewhere were going to gravitate towards because it's something that goes against how we would want people to be treated.
I remember when I first heard about this case, I was at home and my partner said, "Hey, breaking news, this happened in Chicago." And I said, "Where?" And they're like, "Downtown." And I'm like, "Wait, what? No." I didn't think that was real. I don't know, I didn't believe it.
Pretty quickly, people were skeptical. The investigators, the reporters, people who live near that area, who walk that area.
Now remember, this was the coldest day of the year. We had a polar vortex.
This storm poses a serious threat to the well-being of people all across our state.
Our number one priority is the safety and security of our residents, especially the most vulnerable.
If you're two guys who decide, okay, I'm gonna go beat up a black guy and I'm going to have a piece of rope with me to tie a noose around his neck, you're probably not gonna do that in downtown Chicago, steps away from Michigan Avenue. So Jussie Smollett had just come from a delayed flight from O'Hare. He said he got back to his apartment building and was hungry and decided to go to Subway, which was open in the middle of the night. The distance is not very far, but it's also not a location in Chicago that would be particularly populated at that time of the night. Why would two attackers be lying in wait, assuming a gay black male might happen to walk by when wind chills are sub-zero in the middle of the night? Michigan Avenue is right here. He's just a couple of blocks off Michigan Avenue between Chicago's most famous boulevard and a lake. Yeah, it was night, yeah, it was winter, but this is one of the safest parts of the city.
I went and I looked around, and I spent a few hours there just walking through it, looking where was the camera, where would this have captured, where would they have been walking. I could not figure out how somebody could have just so happened to see him coming out that way. That to me, just, you would have had to know someone was coming that way in order to assault them.
When I looked at the intersection that this happened in, it just didn't make sense that they would be able to tell who he was from across that large intersection. And remember, everybody's covered up because it's so cold out there. So how would they know that was Jussie Smollett?
There had to have been some coordination between these three guys. There's no way that they randomly happen to be walking on the coldest day of the year and see this actor who's walking with no coat on.
The events that he reported to police were kind of the perfect storm of contradiction, things that don't happen. It just didn't make sense. In those first few hours, they showed the superintendent the body camera footage. He's still wearing the rope around his neck.
You want to take it off or anything? Yeah, I do. I just want you to see it.
Once they get free, especially if you have a noose around your neck,
the second he was able to, he would have ripped it off.
Police say they're speaking to the two people of interest, two brothers from Nigeria.
3 of them actually went to the scene to rehearse it.
They're not exactly criminal masterminds.
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I was being accused of.
You just goofed up there. So Chicago is roughly 2.7 million people, second largest police department in the country. So the scale of it is just crazy.
What did you know about Jussie Smollett before all of this?
Yeah, I knew his name. You know, at the time, Empire was a very popular show, especially in the black community, you know, and I watched it a few seasons myself. So I knew who he was and quite frankly, all the characters on the TV show. And my stepson used to pretend to be those characters. He was little then, and so, you know, it was a lot of music, good music, and so I was very familiar with who he was. The first video footage that I looked at was when he walked back into his building. And when you look at that, certain things are gonna pop out at you. And it was like he was searching for somebody to tell his story to. I think the doorman had left his post or whatever. What struck me as really strange was when I looked at that video and him turning around in the lobby of his building, I saw the Subway sandwich bag in pristine condition. If you're attacked violently like that, are you gonna worry about your sandwich? Probably not. You know, most people are not.
In those first few hours, there was a meeting in the police superintendent's office where they showed the superintendent the body camera footage of the responding officers talking with Jussie Smollett.
Okay, what's going on?
Guy upstairs doesn't want to. Can you come to the apartment?
Yeah, sure.
The first thing you notice is that Jussie Smollett doesn't want to come downstairs. He asked the officers to go up to his apartment. Here they're entering Jussie's apartment.
Any weapons or anything inside the apartment?
He's still wearing the rope around his neck, and one of the first things the officer says is, "Do you want to take it off?"
Do you want to take it off or anything?
Yeah, I do. I just want you to see it.
And he said, "No, I wanted you to see it."
There's some bleach on me. Bleach on me.
And immediately, I'm told, Eddie Johnson said, "No, no, no. That's not how a black man would react to having a noose around his neck."
Trust me, I've been a cop for 3 decades in this city. And the one thing I know about victims of crimes like that, once they get free, especially if you have a noose around your neck, anything that's out there, they're gonna leave it because they're looking for the police.
The second he was able to, he would have ripped it off. The symbolism is just too awful. And this guy wore it like a tie so he could be seen on body camera footage.
You're filming us, right?
Yeah, this is all being. If you want, if it's in his house.
So the manager is telling Jussie Smollett, "Hey, they're recording you with their body cameras."
You're being audio and reading.
Audio. I guess when I mean, they didn't know they were walking. I don't want to be filmed. Okay, so can we turn it off?
Yeah, you're giving us permission to shut it off?
And Jussie Smollett says, "Well, I don't want to be recorded." And the officers turn off the camera. The other key investigatory moment was detectives asked Jussie Smollett for his cell phone.
When they started asking him for things like his cell phone, that's when he started getting a little antsy with us.
At first he said, like, "Oh, it's for privacy because, you know, I have some celebrities in my contacts list, etc." And then he provided, after some time, like what amounted to like a cell phone bill with redactions.
We had already had some kind of inkling that things might not be quite what they looked like, but once he started playing around with the cell phone data, that's when we started saying it might be something to this. Because if you're a true victim, why would you have an issue, with cell phone data? You wouldn't.
And that was the other giveaway for detectives, was how Jussie Smollett responded to their questions and how much cooperation he provided. So a week before the attack, there was this letter that looked like a child had made it, right down to letters cut out of magazines and this almost forced, shaky address on the envelope. And Smollett reported that. The letter was mailed to Cinespace, which is the West Side Chicago studio where Empire is filmed. The letter never really gained traction in the public's eye because within a week, Jussie Smollett would claim to be the victim of a bigger and more public crime. This just didn't make a lot of sense. I can tell you the exact moment the lie fell apart for me. And that was, I got a tip. I was standing in the middle of our newsroom and my phone rang. And my source said, "The 2 guys you've been reporting that police are questioning for a hate crime are black."
There may be a break in the case in the attack on TV actor Jussie Smollett.
It just kept twisting and turning every single day.
The Chicago police announced that they are questioning 2 men who were in the area of the alleged attack. Police say that the men are the same people seen in surveillance pictures released last month.
The video told a story.
What I remember, legitimate panic in their voice.
I had a big grin on my face because I knew at that point we were getting down to the bottom of it.
I can tell you the exact moment the lie fell apart for me. My source said, "The 2 guys you've been reporting that police are questioning for a hate crime are black."
A developing story. There may be a break in the case in the attack on TV actor Jussie Smollett.
Police say they're speaking to the two people of interest, two brothers from Nigeria.
And we were the first to report that the two people being questioned for a hate crime against a black man, Jussie Smollett, were black.
WGN has confirmed the two were picked up at O'Hare. Smollett reported that he was attacked by two men who yelled slurs and put a rope around his neck. Police say that the men are the same people seen in surveillance pictures released last month.
Surprised they didn't just bring these guys out the front door.
Yes, sure, yes. All right.
I met the brothers through their mother. So 6 months before the incident happened, I remember calling an Uber because I didn't want to take my car out of the parking lot, you know, downtown Chicago. And so she gave me a ride to the juvenile court. And I remember we were just talking, and we got along so great. She started talking to me about her 5 children.
We got a coffee before you.
And I said, well, if you ever need any more legal advice, you know, you can call me. And if your children ever need any legal advice, you have them call me.
Kiss yourself. Sir, do you have any identification?
When I walked into the jail cell, I saw Ola first. And Ola was very, very, very serious.
Sit down. Take your shoelaces out for me. And that hood right here, the string, you gotta take that out.
So what's going on here? It might be
I'll talk to you in a minute, bro. I don't know what you're here for.
Ola getting arrested was like, this is an inconvenience. Like, what did I do? What is going on here? And Bola getting arrested at the airport was like, oh crap, like this has to do with Jussie. And so he was more like.
This investigation played out over a pretty routine course of time. It can take days, if not weeks, to track down all of the footage, the movements of suspects, etc.
So we started at the point where he was attacked. And then we started working backwards to see if we could find out how these guys even got down in that area. And that's how we found out the location of the vicinity of where they actually lived.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, okay?
Once police pulled on that one thread, they were able to focus on the brothers' movements, their purchases, their communication.
The video told a story, and that's how we were able to figure out where those guys live.
Police executed a search warrant at their Northside apartment, but have not disclosed items or evidence was taken.
WGN has obtained surveillance video of those two brothers buying items likely used in the alleged attack.
Here in the Uptown neighborhood at a beauty supply shop, what you're seeing them purchase are a couple of balaclavas or ski masks, along with some gloves that they bought at this nondescript shop in Uptown.
Well, these brothers are handsome men, but they're not exactly criminal masterminds.
The Arcendaro brothers have been talking to police and prosecutors at 26 and Cal, the Cook County Criminal Courthouse. We know they're there today. We know now where they were on Monday, January 28th, just hours before Jussie Smollett reported a hate crime in the street.
Right, when you go to the Crafty Beaver to purchase the goods, there's probably going to be a way to track you down.
I'm amazed. case. I've heard about it, read about it, seen it on the news, but I never thought that I would actually be involved in what they was plotting and planning.
Now that you know, what you're hearing, does some of what your encounter with them involved make sense a bit?
It does. It does. To commit a crime, you would think necessary. You would want a mask like this to cover your face. You would want a red hat so you can pin it on somebody. So, yeah, it makes sense now.
New developments, of course, continuing to come in this story. Fast and furious, lots of twists and turns in this. We'll stay on top of them. Much more to come.
In a national TV interview, Jussie Smollett insists he is not lying and he wants his attackers arrested.
What Jussie Smollett didn't know was that Chicago police had already identified the two brothers. And the two brothers weren't cooperating with police.
They were waiting for Jussie to really clear the record.
We're, you know, family is everything for us, so yeah, so that it's great to like be able to.
When one's affected, we're all affected, so it definitely, you know, was a time we came together, and we're a strong family, so getting through it.
I'm really glad that tomorrow there'll be his first interview, and so everyone can see from his mouth. And we're glad that he's healing, he's doing better. So.
Jussie Smollett and his PR team probably thought this was going to be a great move because everyone wanted to hear from Jussie Smollett. And Good Morning America provided a venue for that. What Jussie Smollett didn't know going into that Good Morning America interview was that Chicago police had already identified the two brothers.
Good morning. Law enforcement sources tell the Tribune these persons of interest are brothers, and one of them is an extra on the TV show Empire.
And the two brothers weren't cooperating with police. They had a lawyer, and they were silent.
They were waiting for Jussie to really clear the record and clear their name.
But then Robin Roberts asked Jussie Smollett that key question. Do you want to see the attackers prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? When Jussie Smollett said, yes, I want them prosecuted, I'm told the detectives interviewing the Alcendario brothers turned and shared that with them. And when they heard that, they went from, we're not cooperating, to, okay, we'll tell you what we know.
Fresh off an appearance on a national morning show today, significant developments again in the Jussie Smollett investigation taking place right now this afternoon.
I remember telling that to the brothers and saying, he's not going to clear your name. He just doubled down.
In a national TV interview, Jussie Smollett insists he is not lying and he wants his attackers arrested.
So he inadvertently identified those two guys when we put that photo out as the guys that attacked him, and we knew at that time that it was the brothers. He just didn't know we knew that.
He went on camera to solidify that there were these two attackers roaming the streets, wanting vigilante justice against Jussie.
It was a key moment that Jussie Smollett unknowingly walked into.
That's when the brothers were like, look, we have a critical decision to make, and it's not necessarily about what's in our best interest, but do we want to see anybody getting hurt? They said, let the dice roll where they may.
Well, we just heard a little bit more from Chicago police as well, and they are telling us tonight that due to some new evidence that they have received as a result of today's interrogations against these brothers, that the individuals questioned by police in the Empire case have now been released without charging, and detectives have additional investigative work to complete.
Breaking news coming in just this afternoon. Jussie Smollett is officially a suspect.
I don't think Jussie should be worried about his career right now.
The video at the store What they told us matched the timeline that we had already established.
Jussie Smollett was given several off-ramps.
When can we hear from your clients?
We are coordinating that right now, so I will let you all know as soon as we can do that. There was a point where this story needed to be told, and they manned up and they said, you know what, we're going to correct this. Plea deal, immunity, all of that, they don't care about that.
What they told us matched the timeline that we had already established. That check was really good that he had written to the brothers. The video of the brothers collecting the items that they were going to need, including the red caps that were MAGA hats, but then the brothers' confession. So those three things in conjunction with each other, it was a no-brainer at that point.
Breaking news coming in just this afternoon, the Smollett case, and Chicago police now saying that Jussie Smollett is officially a suspect in a criminal investigation by Chicago police into potentially filing a false police report.
Jussie Smollett was given several off-ramps at a number of points along this investigation.
So I gave him the benefit of the doubt when other people did not want me to, because in my eyes, he was still a victim until we had everything buttoned up.
A Cook County grand jury may be looking into the Jussie Smollett case in which the actor claims he was attacked in the Streeterville neighborhood. In my career, I've covered corrupt politicians and fraudsters and narcissists and criminals. And in my experience, most of the time the mistakes they make is not anticipating the snowball effect.
Jussie Smollett, everybody's been talking about. Right. Can his career come back from this? Your opinion. I mean, do you think?
I don't think Jussie should be worried about his career right now. I think he should be worried about his life.
Hey guys, check right now.
Good morning, everyone. Before I get started on why we're here, as I look out into the crowd, I just wish that the families of gun violence in this city got this much attention, because that's who really deserves the amount of attention that we're giving to this particular incident. Celebrities, news commentators, and even presidential candidates weighed in on something that was choreographed by an actor.
What was different, I think, was the change in emotion and anger that you saw from the cops up at the podium to the mayor.
In the end of the day, it's Mr. Smollett that committed this false claim upon two individuals and who also testified, but also on the city.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why.
I'm told police said to him, hey, your story's falling apart. If you just want to say, I got mixed up, it was a heat of the moment thing, it was a mistake, there's an off-ramp here. We just need you to take responsibility.
Smollett was treated as a victim throughout this investigation until we received evidence that led detectives in another direction.
This went from, we will give the benefit of the doubt to the victim, as we should in every case, to, you just smeared our city, and we are going to invest a lot of energy and resources in proving it.
We met with Jussie's attorneys, and we arranged for him to turn himself in, and as you all know, he turned himself in at 5 o'clock this morning in the 1st District in Chicago.
Well, Robin and Larry, Jussie Smollett in custody and under arrest. We heard from police spokesman Tom Ahern a short time ago. He described Smollett as quiet and not talking much. He is currently being processed by detectives. But again, the new development this morning at 5 a.m., Jussie Smollett turned himself in. We are expecting more information at a police press briefing.
Today at 1:30, Jussie will be going in front of a bond court judge, and the bond court hearing will be conducted at 26th in California.
Anytime a hate crime is reported in the city of Chicago, it gets the same attention. This didn't get any special attention. You all gave this more attention specifically than we do. We give every hate crime in this city the same amount of vigor because there's no place. I never looked for this guy to go to jail or anything like that.
Oh, is he hiding behind that dude?
He behind that dude.
He was charged ultimately with class 4 felony, the lowest class felony you can be charged with. It's right above a misdemeanor. And typically, when you're charged with a class 4 felony, you're not going to jail. All I wanted was for him to admit it and pay restitution for the resources that we had put into the case.
We begin with that breaking news moments ago. Jussie Smollett bonding out of the Cook County Jail. You can see him hiding behind the larger man at the center of your screen.
Kind of almost like a left guard, a pulling guard, trying to clear a path for him as he walked out to an uncertain future.
As more evidence such as text messages, phone records, social media records, bank records, surveillance video, and the receipt from the purchase of the rope was obtained by investigators, this investigation shifted from a hate crime to disorderly conduct.
And just within the last 2 minutes, Skycam 9 saw him pull into the CineSpace studios where the show Empire is filmed.
Good morning. Smollett reportedly went straight to the set of Empire after his court appearance yesterday, and sources say he apologized to the cast and crew and said he didn't do this.
Smollett's legal team released a statement saying, quote, "Today we witnessed an organized law enforcement spectacle that has no place in the American legal system."
There were also questions about why Smollett was so reluctant to hand over his cell phone during this investigation, while prosecutors say he used it in this crime and to buy drugs.
In court, he received a lecture from Judge John Like Jr. before posting 10% of his $100,000 bond.
After Smollett was charged, many wondered why that crime was solved so quickly when other victims in Chicago have waited decades for justice.
In theory, Chicago police could also go after Smollett in civil court to try to recoup the cost of their investigation. Police have not said whether they may or may do that.
It's shameful, you know, because it painted this city that we all love and work hard in a negative connotation, you know, to insinuate and to stage a hate crime of that nature when he knew as a celebrity it would get a lot of attention. It's just despicable. You know, it makes you wonder what's going through someone's mind to do something like that.
All right, cameras, move over, move over. Clear path, please. Clear path. Step over, step over, please. Step over. Step over, please. Step over.
I struggled with the motivation for that, you know, and why would this young black guy do something like that? And I don't think he ever thought it would rise to the magnitude that it did. I don't think for a moment that he sought out to smear the city. I think it was just a personal thing that he just wanted to up his brand. You know? Smollett attempted to gain attention by sending a false letter that relied on racial, homophobic, and political language. When that didn't work, Smollett paid $3,500 to stage this attack and drag Chicago's reputation through the mud in the process. And why? This stunt was orchestrated by Smollett because he was dissatisfied with his salary.
He said, "I'm the victim. A hate crime was committed against me. when the evidence was increasingly showing it wasn't. Actor Jussie Smollett's role on the TV show Empire is being dropped for the rest of the season. Producers say that Smollett has been written out of the final 2 episodes to avoid what they call further disruption on the set. Police say Smollett staged a fake hate crime against himself in an attempt to raise his profile because he was unhappy with his salary on that show.
So the reasons why the brothers wanted to do this, you know, it's layered. There's some reasons because they were friends. They didn't want to let their friend down. If you're my friend and I ask you to do something that might be a little weird, but certainly not illegal, would you help me? Would you feel like you're letting me down if you don't agree to do it? I know Ola has gone on the record to say that he wanted to curry favor with Jussie. They did what Jussie wanted them to do, which was to scream at them, specifically the words that they did. It was meant to be, you know, a prank.
Jussie Smollett says they're lying. What do you say to that?
I think Jussie Smollett should come clear because the truth will set him free.
I always worked regular jobs and whatever regular is, but I always worked a job, always held down a job and supported myself. But it's hard. It's difficult to be an auditioning actor. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I was being accused of.
I don't think for a moment that he said, boy, am I going to turn Chicago on his head.
This is a whitewash of justice.
He literally walked out of that courtroom and said, I'm innocent.
Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this.
What really rocked my world was when the charges were dropped.
I am not suicidal!
I remember as a very young, early 20-something reporter in Chicago, we were at a murder scene. I was talking to an old school Chicago copper, and in my naive way, I said, well, but I don't understand why he did this and this and this. And the guy looks at me and says, kid, your mistake is you're trying to assign a rational motive to what is inherently an irrational act. That is so many of the stories we cover, right? We can look back and say, shouldn't Jussie Smollett have known that police were going to take this seriously and investigate the hell out of it? But you know what? We're trying to assign a rational motive to what was an irrational act.
Empire star Jussie Smollett is in good condition at Northwestern Hospital after being the victim of a reported racially charged assault and battery.
I just think he's thorough. What's really weird, ma'am, just because I'm scared, I don't know what it is, they put a noose around his neck.
Pretty quickly, people were skeptical.
And the one thing I know about victims of crimes like that, once they get free, anything that's out there, they're going to leave it because they're looking for the police.
My source said, the 2 guys you've been reporting that police are questioning for a hate crime are black. When you go to the Crafty Beaver to purchase the goods, there's probably going to be a way to track you down. Why would Jussie Smollett pick 2 brothers who he had a relationship with to carry this out? But in the end, think about it. Who else are you going to ask to help you?
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career.
Jussie Smollett in custody and under arrest.
What was more newsworthy for me and what really rocked my world was when the charges were dropped.
Taking a photo with a fan surrounded by his entourage, Empire actor Jussie Smollett walked out of the Layton Criminal Courthouse this afternoon a free man.
Hey everybody, I just made a couple notes. First of all, I want to thank my family, my friends, the incredible people of Chicago and all over the country and the world who have prayed for me, who have supported me, who've shown me so much love. I want you to know that not for a moment was it in vain.
No doubt, 110%. I know for a fact we got this right. I would have never had a press conference and had that guy charged if I wasn't 100% sure.
I've been truthful and consistent on every single level since day one. I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I've been accused of.
You know, you don't make statements like that. You don't bring your mother, invoke her name into something like that, especially when you are 100% guilty of what we're saying you are.
This has been an incredibly difficult time, honestly one of the worst of my entire life. But I am a man of faith, and I'm a man that has knowledge of my history, and I would not bring my family, our lives, or the movement through a fire like this. I just wouldn't.
He literally walked out of that courtroom, walked in front of the TV cameras in the lobby and said, I'm innocent. I'm the victim here. And boy, did that took things to the next level.
This is a whitewash of justice. A grand jury could not have been clearer. It is not on the level from beginning to end, and there needs to be a level of accountability throughout the system, and this sends an unambiguous message that there is no accountability, and that is wrong.
He said he was attacked by MAGA country. You ever hear that one? MAGA. Maybe the only time I've ever agreed with the mayor of Chicago. Maybe.
I stand by the facts of what we produced. If they want to dispute those facts, then the place to do that is in court, not secrecy.
So anytime someone is in a criminal proceeding, the state attorney can always talk to the defense counsel and see if they can come up with their own plea deal. And so, and that's in every case. That's not special to Jussie. What's special to Jussie is that he got a deal that no one similarly situated would have ever gotten.
That deal that prosecutors rushed into a courtroom with no notice didn't include the one thing that's included in almost every plea deal, which is an allocution, an admission of guilt, where the defendant stands up there and says, yes, Your Honor, I did wrong.
His criminal background, his lack of criminal background, that he didn't have any felony background or violent felony background, based on all those facts and circumstances, we felt that this was a just outcome in the case.
It was a minor charge. It was a disorderly conduct charge.
Good afternoon.
He had to do community service that he had already done at Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition. Like, you know, it was nothing.
That is a sweetheart deal that has absolutely no precedent in Cook County.
And I think many are wondering, did something happen behind closed doors that led to what took place in court yesterday? We have put in requests to talk to Kim Foxx today about all of this, but she has so far not responded.
When I say this was the perfect storm, I'm including Kim Foxx, the prosecutor, because she had been under fire ever since she took office for being a progressive politician who went soft on crime.
The issue of criminal justice and criminal justice reform is one of the biggest civil rights issues of our day.
I think you have to have radical ideas and radical diversity. Always go into a room and ask who's not here. Who do we miss?
And so when her office does this deal with Jussie Smollett, for a lot of people, it confirmed their previously held belief that, you know, here's a guy who lied about a hate crime, and she's going to essentially give him a pass. I want to emphasize, she would say that she had recused herself completely, and this was siloed off. We don't know why those prosecutors didn't make him, as part of this plea deal, stand in front of the judge and admit wrongdoing. We do know the hearing was rushed because they were hoping to avoid cameras and coverage.
She called me. We had a police graduation that morning.
Repeat after me.
And she called me about 10 minutes before the graduation.
Been appointed to the office of lieutenant.
To tell me.
City of Chicago.
She was dropping the charges. Now what really burned me about it was that they were already in court getting the stuff charged. So I really didn't understand. She told me that she thought there were some holes in the case. When I did the press conference, someone asked me what was his motive. And I had been informed that his motivation might have been more money. Who knows whether it was or not. So she said that was a problem. Anger, disgust. You know, you're trying to figure out why, because we had everything we needed. Those detectives put in a lot of work. They did. They put in a lot of work investigating that particular crime. You know, so it did cause some friction.
It's a class 4 felony, it's disorderly conduct. So I didn't think that he would have gotten any jail time. But to get like it never happened.
You know, was it a simple mistake, or was it an intentional mistake that Jussie Smollett and his attorneys saw the opportunity and jumped through? We still don't know that to this day, but it came back to bite him because Jussie Smollett was able to walk out of that courtroom and once again claim that he was the victim. And that caused police and really the city to say, oh, no, you don't. And then you had the political dynamic.
FOP! FOP! Fox must go!
Every honest person in Chicago, United States knew that this was a lie.
They're mad that a black man is not in prison.
That the integrity of the office is being judged by one case. I think that that's unfortunate.
If you do something like that, there should be a consequence. Take care, man. Okay, man.
I have no better feelings about Chicago. I love Chicago. Chicago has been my home. Chicago has been such a great home for Empire. I will never, ever, ever say anything or feel anything bad about the city of Chicago.
This case was the perfect storm of race and sexuality, a city that does have a difficult racial history. And then you had the political dynamic, and that was radioactive.
Fox must go! Go get the murderer! That's what y'all need to do!
What side are you on? What side are you on, my people? What side are you on?
Nobody else gets to pick 16 hours of community service wherever they want to do it and say, I'm sorry, and all of a sudden their record's sealed. Nobody gets that.
We don't want our officers to work so hard to bring cases to fruition, only to have charges dropped.
The attack on Kim Foxx is not about Jussie Smollett. Rather, it's about trying to remove a person who is a threat to the old boys system of power in this city and in this state.
The rift existed. This was this interesting moment in Chicago where you had a very progressive prosecutor that was already being criticized for, going light on criminals. You had a police superintendent who was already frustrated that prosecutors weren't approving the cases his detectives were bringing to them. And you had a mayor who was already speaking out with his frustration about Kim Foxx. When Kim Foxx's office cut that deal with Jussie Smollett, the Band-Aid got ripped off.
Don't use and abuse people's trust. Don't use and abuse people's empathy. Don't use and abuse people's sense of sympathy and compassion. You have to set an example.
This is not a problem with Kim Foxx's prosecution. They're here because they're mad that a black man is not in prison. That's what this is about.
Every honest person in Chicago, United States knew that this was a lie. It was completely a lie from the get-go, and yet this actor gets off scot-free because she squelched the prosecution.
know, when you take these jobs, you know you're going to get heat for certain things. And dropping it as suddenly as they did, yeah, I mean, yes, I do think that criticism is fair, yeah.
Since this case that has garnered a lot of attention has started, there have been 2,900 cases that have gone through the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, not the least of which have been 7 homicides, 5 criminal sexual assaults, 58 aggravated batteries to a police officer. This is the same Kim Foxx.
Kim Foxx, the prosecutor, supposedly recused herself, but it was later learned was still kind of involved in some conversations and had a connection to the Smollett family. Where she got into trouble, though, was while she publicly said she recused herself, she technically didn't.
Tonight, the office released documents related to the case, and investigative reporter Ben Bradley has our report.
There is no smoking gun, but it shows Kim Foxx was kept in the loop on and commented to her staff about a case in which she publicly claimed to have recused herself. On March 8th, Fox seemed to suggest the misdemeanor charges against Smollett were too severe. She wrote, "So I'm recused, but when people accuse us of overcharging cases, 16 counts on a Class 4 becomes Exhibit A." The text messages and emails released include heavy redactions. What's clear is Fox's distaste for spending time and energy on the Smollett case. On March 8th, just 2 weeks before her office dropped charges against the actor, Fox texted a colleague, "Pedophile with 4 victims, 10 counts. Washed up celeb who lied to cops, 16. On a case eligible for deferred prosecution, I think it's indicative of something we should be looking at generally. Just because we can charge something doesn't mean we should." In a statement, Fox says she only discussed the case with her office after the indictment became public in an effort to review office policies and make sure charging authority was used properly. She has said she is open to an outside review of how her office handled the case. Ben Bradley, WGN Investigates.
Today, former U.S. Attorney Dan Webb was sworn in as special prosecutor after Judge Michael Tuman appointed him. Webb will probe why Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx's office abruptly dropped all charges against actor Jussie Smollett.
So Dan Webb is, this former U.S. attorney who gets brought in on a lot of big heater cases in Chicago. He's considered, highly ethical, highly respected. But he got brought in essentially to clean up a mess.
The truth is, I have to go where the facts go, and I cannot let politics dictate where I go and how I make decisions.
There was 3 directives total, and one including investigating Kim Foxx's office directly. But on a very initial basis, they wanted to just see what happened and investigate everything.
I intend to expedite everything, but the facts will take me where they take me.
That the integrity of the office is being judged by one case, I think that that's unfortunate. We stand ready to take whatever lessons are learned from this and do things better to ensure the public's trust of this office's work moving forward.
This morning, we filed in this court a motion to dismiss the indictment for violation of the double jeopardy clause.
We're going back to square one on the People versus Jussie Smollett.
The long-awaited Jussie Smollett trial began today.
If the brothers had not taken the stand, there would have been no case against Jussie. Full stop.
There's no way that you can conclude beyond a reasonable doubt that my brother's guilty of anything.
Your very name has become an adverb for lying. The hypocrisy is just astounding. You are actually throwing a national pity party for yourself.
I am not suicidal.
I think he was setting the stage for another made-up story.
Back up, back up, back up.
The Osenero brothers lying.
Jussie, where's your moral compass after all this?
What do you have to say, Jussie?
How y'all doing?
Let's get the outcome of this case.
got our motion on file, so we'll see what happens in court.
Chicago has been home to high-profile trials for decades. You know, we've had governors go to prison, and we get aldermen charged. You know, we had the R. Kelly case at this same courthouse, you know, where it was a frenzy.
The long-awaited Jussie Smollett trial began today after nearly 3 years since he allegedly staged a hate crime in Chicago.
The prosecution saying that testimony from key witnesses will prove that Jussie Smollett staged this hate crime against him, while his attorney says that this was a real attack and that he is a real victim.
Come on, give it space, please. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Well, this afternoon, prosecutor's star witness took the stand against actor Jussie Smollett in his disorderly conduct trial. One of the two brothers who prosecutors say was hired to stage the attack is now telling his story in court.
Ola did not put the noose around Jussie's neck. It was a wound up piece of rope that Ola just kind of undid a little bit and then laid it on top of him.
Because he specifically wanted a noose. He said, make sure you have that noose. He wanted that noose in there.
And then the bleach, it was like a few drops of bleach from a hot sauce bottle. And I mean, it was meant to be, you know, a prank. And so Ola and Bola, they did what Jussie wanted them to do, which was to scream at them and then come up to him, and Bola, you know, let him pull a punch, and I know Bola said that he gave Jussie a noogie. And so it was an attack, but it was like it was a fake attack. During the trial, they told the jury exactly how many times they met up with Jussie. There was a lot of pre-planning in the case. And so one of the relevant things from the planning perspective was that they did a dress rehearsal. And they were able to track the cell phone towers of the car. And they were able to stitch together surveillance of Jussie's vehicle driving in the loop over and over and over the area where they were going to do that.
But your testimony could help convict him. How do you feel about it?
No, not right now. Not right now.
If the brothers had not taken the stand, there would have been no case against Jussie. Full stop.
The big question, will Jussie Smollett testify in his own defense? What do you think?
I think he has to. Nobody else can tell his story from his point of view. This case is going to come down to whether the jury believes his testimony or whether they believe the two brothers, Bola and Ola.
Week 2 in the Jussie Smollett trial, the former Empire actor taking center stage on the witness stand.
I was in the courtroom when Jussie took the stand. There was a point in time when Dan Webb was cross-examining him, and he's reading his own text messages. So he's reading Jussie's text messages to Bola, and he's reading them verbatim. And in reading them verbatim, he uses the N-word, because that's how it's written in the message. And I think he did it maybe once or twice, and then Jussie said, "Sir, I want you as like a white man to stop using the N-word. It's a word of oppression," and kind of goes into an explanation about the N-word. So, of course, you know, there was a huge, awkward kind of silence that followed. And so, of course, you know, everyone looks to Mr. Webb to see, like, what's he gonna respond to that? And so Mr. Webb said something to the effect of, "These are your words. I'm reading your words, but it's fine, I won't use them." And I don't know, for me, that really stayed with me. Just seeing how upset Jussie got over something like that and wanting to, you know, advocate for that position in light of this being a court proceeding where he's on the stand.
How do you think it went today, Jussie?
Does he feel good about how that testimony went? Do you feel good? Does the family feel good about that?
I was very convinced. If you look at the files and the documents that were released, including all the police investigations, there's no way that you can read that objectively and say you see a smoking gun. There's proof of his wrongdoing. There's no way that you can conclude beyond a reasonable doubt that my brother's guilty of anything.
26 Chicago police officers spent 3,000 hours of time costing the city well over $100,000 for a fake crime that never occurred. And by the way, a fake crime that denigrates what a real hate crime is.
The verdict is inconsistent. You cannot say Jussie is lying and Jussie is not lying for the same exact incidents. So we feel 100% confident that this case will be won on appeal. You're welcome.
I don't think people were surprised. We had already lived out this story. We already knew the fact pattern. But it did feel for many like a moment where he was being held accountable.
There is nothing that I will do here today that can come close to the damage you've already done to your own life. You've turned your life upside down by your misconduct and shenanigans. The hypocrisy is just astounding. Your very name has become an adverb for lying. You are actually throwing a national pity party for yourself. And you took the noose that they never did get around your neck and you put it around your own neck. And then you start to lie. And you haven't stopped the capper of all cappers, your performance on the witness stand. This could only be described as pure perjury. You are now a permanently convicted felon. And I believe that you did damage to real hate crimes, to hate crime victims.
No, I would just like to say to Your Honor that I am not suicidal. That's what I would like to say.
Okay.
I am not suicidal.
Okay.
I am not suicidal. I am innocent, and I am not suicidal. If I did this, then it means that I stuck my fist in the fears of Black Americans in this country for over 400 years and the fears of the LGBTQ community. Your Honor, I respect you and I respect the jury, but I did not do this. I am not suicidal.
Okay.
To me, that moment
Defendants remanded to the custody of sheriff. Court is adjourned.
illustrated that Jussie Smollett still didn't get it.
I am not suicidal. I am not suicidal, and I am innocent. I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
Because he was clearly trying to set up a narrative that if something happens to me in jail, you know, it was nefarious. He was setting the stage for another made-up story.
I felt like he was just acting like he had been the entire time.
We're walking out. We're walking out, brother. Just please pull up.
Any comment on the sentencing?
Please step back. Please step. Give us some space, please. They don't care about the details of this case. They don't even care about what crime they think you committed. This is not for Cook County. This is not for Cook County. Trust me.
So the question has to be asked, regardless of how you feel about Jussie Smollett, is it fair what happened today? And the answer is absolutely not. This sentence was a disparate treatment towards a Black man, and that's my personal opinion.
Mr. Smollett, we're the ERT team, emergency response team. We handle all the high-profile guys. We had R. Kelly when he was here. You're gonna be all right.
Okay, you can bring her up. Step right in front of that.
It feels unprecedented and it feels personal. Racist?
That was the beginning of the end of Kim Foxx's time as our top prosecutor.
Jussie, do you have any comment at all? How does it feel to be free? Can you tell us what the past week is?
There are certain things that become part of your permanent narrative. This will always be part of Jussie Smollett's narrative.
Right now, we're gonna dress you out. We're gonna give you a uniform. We're gonna take all this property, and they're gonna bag it and tag it, and they're gonna send it somewhere else, right?
What size shoe do you wear?
Looks like extra large pants and also an extra large shirt. No, that's standard uniform.
In this case, it's been 3 years for a Class 4 felony where a decision was made. And for the last 3 years, there's been this deliberate attempt to upend the decision that my office made. And it feels unprecedented and it feels personal.
Racist?
Mr. Smollett was given 150 days in Cook County Jail. Last time the special prosecutor had a case of R.J. Vaneco, the man who was accused of punching and killing someone, he got 60 days in jail. You punch and kill someone and get 60 days in jail. You lie about a hoax in which you are the victim, which is not to dismiss it, but you get 150. And this is a clear example of what that racial disparity looks like.
Step back, please.
He was made an example of.
But who is the example being made of and for what?
I think part of the example is being made for prosecutors who decide not to do what's traditionally done. Is sending you to prison or sending you to jail for 150 days? Is that what accountability looks like when we don't do that on other Class 4 felonies? We don't. We don't do that on other Class 4 felonies. And so I think Mr. Smollett paid the price for people who wanted, who had a thirst for revenge. And so I'll take the shots. I'm the elected official. I'll take it. What I won't allow is for the denigration of the men and women who do this work. The fascination, 3 years around this case, we'll be examining for years. And I hope so. I hope we examine why we were so fixated on this case.
Kim Foxx, who's incredibly smart and accomplished and thoughtful, unlike the caricature that's portrayed of her, I don't think she ever got it. She told me once, I don't ever want to talk about Jussie Smollett again. Our office cuts plea deals every single day in the interest of justice, in the interest of fairness, in the interest of expediency. And all everyone wants to talk about with me is Jussie Smollett. And he doesn't deserve another minute of our attention. What she failed to get in that scenario, I think, is that for many, Jussie Smollett symbolized what they viewed as the failings of her as a progressive politician. The Jussie Smollett case didn't bring Kim Foxx down like that, but it contributed to a narrative that people were spinning about her. And you could argue that was one of the reasons that 4 years later she didn't seek re-election.
I will be stepping down as state's attorney. I'm going to do something really radical. It is a radical thing that I've committed to doing as a black woman leader, and that's rest. I'm going to rest.
Jussie, do you have any comment at all? How does it feel to be free? Can you tell us what the past week has been like?
Jussie, can you give any comment at all?
He pushed his hands on the glass, and his eyes got teary, and I've never seen that because he's been very strong in there. And he said, "I nearly lost hope in our constitutional system."
How does it feel to be free? Jussie, can you tell us what the past week has been like? Jussie, do you have any?
The bottom line is, guilty or not, Smollett can't be tried twice due to double jeopardy.
How could he lie about something so awful? And he gets to legally say that because no court of law can say otherwise.
The real injustice here was the sweetheart deal that Kim Foxx gave him in the first place.
In the end, the victim here was truth.
What's up, Hollywood? Y'all acting so Hollywood.
Hollywood has incredible power and influence over public opinion.
Empire, what's coming next week?
I'm Matthew Hiltzik, President and CEO of Hiltzik Strategies. You know, I'd worked with Alec, Brad Pitt, with Kelly Ripa, and we worked with Shohei Ohtani. There are certain things that become part of your permanent narrative. This will always be part of Jussie Smollett's narrative.
Very quickly, the name Jussie Smollett became a punchline around Chicago.
When the whole Jussie Smollett story first came out, you were one of many people.
Yeah, I said,
you supported him, right?
I had to delete my tweet. Man, God, darn it. But, you know, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think he's on the wrong show. I think if he was on NCIS, he would have known. There's cameras everywhere. I have to rewrite this script. I can't write a check. Pay it in cash. In MAGA country in Chicago? I think it's still Obama country.
Apologies are a very powerful thing if done properly. And I think the public generally is very forgiving. It's something where if someone did actually do something wrong and is willing to acknowledge it and recognizes the implications of it and the negative impact it could have, and makes an effort to show that they are going to work towards healing whatever damages were the result of that, I think that can really help a lot.
The next case on the call of the docket is agenda number 13, case number 130431, People versus Smollett.
This Illinois Supreme Court ruled in favor of Jussie Smollett.
The bottom line is, guilty or not, Smollett can't be tried twice due to double jeopardy.
Essentially what the state Supreme Court said was, you can't go back after prosecutors cut a deal and both sides have lived up to it and say, well, no, we want another bite at the apple.
I've been in law enforcement long enough to know that that was going to be a problem.
Let me start off by saying this. Prosecutions should be based on facts. Prosecution should not be based on vindictiveness. This was a vindictive persecution, not a prosecution. Let's not make any mistake about that.
Ola, what was your reaction to the court's ruling that the conviction has been overturned?
It made sense. The real injustice here was the sweetheart deal that Kim Foxx gave him in the first place.
What burns me personally is that sweetheart deal that I could never get for a client, because my clients are not famous.
The initial time when they dropped all the charges, Kim Foxx, what happened was he went off and rode off into the sunset where he said,
I would not be my mother's son if I was capable of one drop of what I have been accused of.
Well, we guess you're not your mother's child because you did do it.
Yeah.
He wants you to know that he would not be his mother's child if he was making this up. How could he lie about something so awful? And he gets to legally say that because no court of law can say otherwise.
Jussie is a great actor. He is good at what he does, and people really believe him. And I guess that's what makes a good actor, when people don't know that you're acting. But every time I listen to him and I hear him, I'm disappointed because he does not and cannot say the truth, come forward and speak his truth.
The only person that can really say why he did it is him, and I doubt that he will ever admit that he did. But I'll give him credit for now for being quiet now. You know, I will give him credit for that.
There's no question in my mind that this was a hoax. There's none. This was an absolute stunt, a prank.
Nobody took joy in the Jussie Smollett story because fundamentally we're all Chicagoans and we know that this hurt our city's reputation.
The city of Chicago didn't deserve that. We had enough bad stains on ourselves. You know, violent crime was way down. Matter of fact, a lot of crimes, robberies, burglaries, things of that nature, we were at 20-year lows.
Was, in the end, the victim here was truth but everyone saw their own victimhood in it, right? Chicago felt we got beat up. Donald Trump and other self-described members of the MAGA movement felt that they got unfairly maligned, which in this case they did.
The part of the story that still matters to me to this day is what is going on with your local prosecutor's office. The abuse of power that the state's attorney's office displayed in this case should never be repeated in any other jurisdiction across the state.
It still bothers me that he really hasn't been held accountable, and he himself has never acknowledged his guilt in that whole thing, and he probably never will.
Think of the injustice Jussie Smollett did to real victims of hate crimes. Think of the injustice Jussie Smollett did to police who expended an enormous amount of time investigating his claims. And think of the injustice Jussie Smollett did to our city's reputation. People are done with Jussie Smollett in Chicago for good reason.
We shot this in 11 days.
Yes.
And
yes,
shot it in
yes.
11
days, yeah.
A year ago, and we're here with y'all talking about it, so it's pretty special.
Yeah. So for you and your character, you're the husband.
I'm the husband.
And you have a daughter.
Certain spaces, certain places I'm not supposed to be in, but I excel and I am in. Trump is the same way. He's not a career politician. He's not supposed to be where he's at right now, but he is.
Long legal saga of Jussie Smollett appears to finally be over. Federal court documents show that there's now settlement in the civil lawsuit between the city of Chicago and Smollett.
So more than 6 years later, here is his statement. Over 6 years ago, after it was reported I had been jumped, city officials in Chicago set out to convince the public that I willfully set an assault against myself. This false narrative has left a stain on my character that will not soon disappear. These officials wanted my money and wanted my confession for something I did not do. Today, it should be clear they have received neither. Though I was exonerated by the Illinois Supreme Court in a unanimous decision, and the civil case will now be dismissed. So I want to say something with this. So in Jussie Smollett's statement, he says, though I was exonerated by the Illinois Supreme Court in a unanimous decision. That's not what the court said. The court said he couldn't face punishment because of double jeopardy. Essentially, he had already had a deal with prosecutors, and if prosecutors don't honor the deals they make, then our legal system doesn't work. So the Illinois Supreme Court didn't exonerate Jussie Smollett, as he claims in this statement. I'm aware that it will not change everyone's mind about me or the attack I experienced. However, despite arduous and expensive attempts to punish me, I am innocent in the eyes of God in our criminal justice system. With love and respect, Jussie Smollett.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.